Grab a falafel because I've got all the news about which Royal Caribbean cruise ship will be sailing next, up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and I've got some great news to share with everybody today, and that is we now know the next Royal Caribbean cruise ship that will be able to resume sailings. That'll be Odyssey of the Seas, sailing from Israel. Royal Caribbean made the blockbuster announcement this week that Odyssey of the Seas, the brand new cruise ship that hasn't sailed yet with Royal Caribbean but is about to join the fleet, is going to make her debut offering cruises this summer from Israel beginning in May 2021. Royal Caribbean announced that Israeli citizens will be able to sail on 3 to 7 night sailings departing from Haifa to the Greek islands and Cyprus. These new sailings are open only to Israeli citizens living in Israel who are vaccinated. That's a big deal because not only is this only open to Israeli citizens, similar to how Quantum of the Seas is only available to Singaporean citizens, but it's also going to require everybody on board, crew and guests, to be vaccinated for COVID-19. This is the first major step that Royal Caribbean has taken to require vaccinations. And before we get too ahead of ourselves, no, nothing has been announced or confirmed if similar requirements will be made for other sailings around the world. But at least for these Odyssey of the Seas sailings from Israel, will require everybody to be vaccinated on board the ship. Royal Caribbean says more details on additional health and safety measures will be implemented, will be announced at a later date. And if you're wondering when you can start booking these new sailings, they'll be going on sale on March 9th. Now, this is significant, obviously, because it's a brand new ship. Odyssey of the Seas actually just completed her conveyance, which means she went from her shipyard in Papenburg, Germany, over to the North Sea, and she'll begin her sea trial soon, and then eventually be delivered to Royal Caribbean soon thereafter. But this is a major shift for a variety of reasons. Number one, brand new cruise ship. Number two, Royal Caribbean has never offered sailings from Israel. They have offered a couple of cruises here and there that visit the Holy Land, but never actually embarking and disembarking cruises beginning and ending in Israel. That's a big deal. Number three, of course, the vaccine requirements. You know, there's been a lot of speculation about whether or not cruise lines will require it. Now, Israel's in a little bit of a unique situation because they've been able to vaccinate a large percentage of their population already. So on top of that, it makes it a little bit easier than, say, other areas to go to. In addition, Israel also has a travel agreement with the countries of Greece and Cyprus, which also helps why they can offer these types of sailings. And it also is more of a sure bet for Royal Caribbean. Just like offering cruises from Singapore instead of moving the ship elsewhere and hoping for things to open up in other countries, this is an opportunity for Royal Caribbean to offer cruises from a country and basically know these sailings are going to happen. And these days, for a company that's losing literally billions of dollars each quarter, having a safe bet is the way to go. Now, Royal Caribbean has not yet officially announced the new itineraries, but based on some of the information we've been seeing from Israeli travel agents, it looks like a lot of these sailings will be visiting places like Mykonos, Rhodes, Athens, and a few other places as well. We have the full details about these itineraries over at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Now, the other side of this is that Royal Caribbean basically has thrown in the towel with its 2021 European cruise season for Odyssey of the Seas only. As a result of the redeployment, previously scheduled Odyssey of the Seas sailings in Europe are now canceled. Royal Caribbean issued a statement saying that, quote, the current situation throughout Europe is still uncertain, and Israel has been praised for their effective COVID-19 management by global health experts and communities, and thus is well placed to resume cruise operations, end quote. So, if you had a cruise booked on Odyssey of the Seas between May 9th and October 28th, 2021, those cruises are now canceled, and guests have the option to request a refund or take advantage of the lift and shift to move to any 2022 sailing of their choice. Otherwise, a 125% future cruise credit will automatically be administered. In addition to this, Royal Caribbean is taking a bit of a unusual step in offering a special $100 onboard credit per stateroom will be issued to those guests who select a future cruise credit or lift and shift option as part of this canceled cruise. This is unusual because Royal really hasn't ever offered anything like this in previous cancellations, but I suspect because it's Odyssey, because it was a brand new ship, and because I think a lot of people were excited to go on there, you know, this is kind of why they went in this direction. Now, the fact that Odyssey will be sailing out of Israel and not outside, obviously, the United States, kind of follows up on a hint we heard actually last week from Royal Caribbean that the next ship to restart operations after Quantum of the Seas could be sailing outside the U.S. During Royal Caribbean's fourth quarter earnings call, Chief Financial Officer Jason Liberty told investors a second ship could sail outside of the U.S. soon. Quote, "We're already operating Quantum of the Seas in Singapore, and our second ship in the water could also be outside of the U.S., end quote. Now, they didn't give any more details last week about it, but now we know that it's going to be obviously in Israel. And working with the Israeli government has been a key point of this. In fact, Mr. Liberty said, quote, "With regards to ships starting in Australia or China or Europe or elsewhere, for example, we are literally in discussions globally around the world with different governments and looking at where they are with COVID and vaccines, et cetera, et cetera." So now we know that quote, obviously they were referring to Israel in all that. And whether or not other ships start up in maybe in China or in Europe remains to be seen. Obviously, this announcement is only about Odyssey of the Seas out of Israel for the summer. And yes, she's still scheduled as of right now to sail over to the United States once her season is over in Israel and offer cruises out of North America, sailing from Port Everglades, which is Fort Lauderdale to the rest of us, beginning in November 2021. Now, of course, everything's always subject to change. We'll have to wait and see on that. But this is huge news for Royal Caribbean, a second ship in the water, which is really important for two reasons. Number one, you're going to get more revenue. That's always helpful. The more money coming in is always good for the cruise line. And second of all, it also allows Royal Caribbean another opportunity to test out new protocols. With North American cruises probably not sailing until sometime this summer at best, the more time Royal Caribbean has to test out policies, procedures, and, kind of tweak everything, the easier it's going to be for whenever cruises do resume in North America to be able to offer the best possible experience and less stumbling out of the blocks. And certainly having two ships in the water, Quantum of the Seas in Singapore, and now Odyssey of the Seas out of Israel, that's fantastic news, and that's going to allow them a lot easier. So I want to hear in the comments, what do you think about this? Obviously, if you had a cruise booked on Odyssey in Europe, you're probably not thrilled with this news because, of course, your cruise is now canceled. But from a cruise industry standpoint, I want to know what you guys think about this move. Are you surprised by it? Because I certainly was when I read about this. To say that I didn't see this coming would be an understatement, but I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts in the comments below as well. While you're down there, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on your notifications so that way YouTube lets you know when we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.